Well, thank you, Lana, so much for taking the time to sit here and hold space with me on the podcast. I am just really honored that we get to have this time together and that I get to share it.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
excited.
So I know I'm so excited. Our DMs have been like, oh, anyway. So
Yeah.
we'll just jump right in with your backstory. How did
Yeah.
you get to creating Conscious Concierge?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, I spent my adult life, like my career was in television advertising. So I worked for all the major TV networks. Or not all of them, but I worked for a lot of major TV networks, and I was in ad sales, and that was my career. Um, while I was in my career, I was also very much on my journey, mental health journey, spiritual journey. And so I really started diving in that process. I went through something pretty intense around age 30. And it was a relationship that really like rocked me to my core. Um, this person was dealing with addiction, and it was just like so intense, the situation. And it really started me on this path of digging really deep into my own journey of why I was in the experience I was in, how I attracted into my life, um, how to take responsibility for it. And, I had been in therapy since I was a kid, on and off, since I was 6 years old. So I was really well versed in the world of therapy. And at the time, the advice from the like conventional medical world was that I needed to take medicine to deal with like the situation because it was so intense and extreme emotionally. And long story short, I it didn't the medicine didn't resonate for me. It did help me in some moments, but I set out on a journey. I mean, I literally left the country and I started on a journey to really understand myself myself in the world, and I also really wanted to figure out why I was in so much distress and how I could heal beyond what was the traditional way, which was therapy and medication, because I had tried those things. And so fast forward, I went on a journey, a couple of years, 4 years long, of trying all these different modalities. I went from an array of plant medicines to working with coaches and guides instead of therapists. I worked with energy work. I healed my body. I was on from birth control and other pharmaceuticals and things that were toxins in the body. And that was a whole journey. And going to different retreats and studying under different practitioners and healers in different countries of the world. And so at the end of it, not the end, we're never done. But what I realized is there was all of these amazing modalities that had helped me really liberate myself from so much suffering that were beyond the traditional landscape of therapy and pharmaceuticals. And so I really felt there was a hole in the space where there wasn't somebody who you could go to be like, what are the modalities, and which one is best for me, and can you tell me more about them? Who was the person? There wasn't one, right? So I spent all this time and energy going through the process, and that's why I had the idea to create a service to centralize the opportunities and connect people to safe and vetted places to do this work. And that was really how everything came about. I then left my career in television advertising to do this full time because for me, it became like a mission to help people really heal and really optimize their life beyond the traditional routes if need be. And we're all different, and we all have different ways of doing so. So to really assist people on that journey. And that's the story, the backstory.
Right, the shortened version. No, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I
that's the
love
shortened version, sadly.
the condensed version. But I love how like the question started from within, right? You're like, okay, if I'm
Hmm.
experiencing these things, like I can't be the only
Yeah,
one. Like I cannot be the
can't
only
be.
one that is going through this. So because so
Yeah,
many people just kind of stop like at themselves, which I mean, no judgment, but like to
yeah,
take that and then expand it into the network, into what you do to give people like a safe place, because I think people are just like looking for answers, and sometimes that
Yeah.
leads us to very unsafe places because we don't know.
That's one of the pillars. That's one of the pillars of what we do, especially when it comes to the plant medicine, psychedelic healing world, which I'm sure we'll get into. But it is very important. I felt I had sat in many different circles and with many different guys, and I saw the difference of what a safe and tight container looked like, a really healing space, and I saw the difference when it wasn't. And so that was another thing. I wanted to bring people options that they could trust, and same with coaches and guides and people. It's there's, in a world where everybody can become a coach or a healer or a guide, um, it's so beautiful, but to really have vetted people that people, somebody can trust. They have a busy schedule. I get it. I used to be a TV executive and I'm advertising executive. I get what it's like. So if I can avoid that for them and help them, look, here's the top two that I would recommend for what you're looking for, then they're more likely to move forward with that healing, with that optimization.
To just, yeah, to have someone in your corner. Like, how do I mean, I'm sure that
Yeah.
plays really well to, your marketing and advertising expertise too, to like vet everybody, right? You're like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't pull the wool over my eyes. I've done this.
Totally. Totally. It's actually like, I actually look back on my journey and like every single role in a company, every single relationship I had, every single experience of confrontation, everything made sense for me of why I was then able to go on to do this. It plays such a hand in these conversations that I'm having in my ability to really um, understand environments and understand people and their intentions. I was in sales, so it's super necessary. And I did feel like, who's the person advocating for these people healing? I feel like I'm like the big sister sometimes, where I'm just like, I'll handle it. Like, like I will make sure this is a safe
Right.
space. You just go and focus on you. And I'm like, I got your back. I'm going to make sure you're going to a place that's trustworthy. And I have a list of questions, and I sit in every single experience, work with every single coach. I personally don't sign off on anything that I have not experienced before. So, yeah.
That, like, that's a huge testament to what you do. You're like, I'm not going
Thank
to
you.
pretend. You're welcome. I mean, but like, I'm not going to pretend to know about something. Like, you can read everything, right? Like, you can consume all the knowledge, you can do all the research,
Yeah.
but until you experience it yourself,
Yeah.
like, and no shade for other people that do that, but I really do think that makes what you do more special, more intentional, more empowering,
Thank you.
to help people kind of on that journey. You're like, well, because there's so many times, I mean, especially as, a journalist, I can write all
Mhm.
day, but sometimes like I don't experience this stuff. I'm just trying to translate other people's stories so that people
Totally.
understand. And so I can't,
Totally.
like, I don't know. And even though I
Yeah.
know through research, like, I can't, I could never be that
Yeah.
that person, or, I could never be in
Yeah.
that story because it's not my story.
Well, without experience, we can only have sympathy. We can't have empathy, right? So it's like, it's so important. It makes all the difference. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Without experience, we can't, have empathy. We can only have sympathy. It's really
Yeah.
beautiful. Like,
Thank you.
but it's
Yeah.
true,
I think
like,
so. Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
walking a mile and someone like, there's a reason why that saying exists, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm super open about my journey with mental health, my journey with physical health, my journey with being told to treat my symptoms instead of getting to the root cause of the issue, which really is is my mission across the house. Is we're a society, we're treating symptoms, and we're not treating the root cause. And my question was always why, and it was just so jarring to come to this revelation that you know we have to really listen and strengthen our own voice. And that's a big mission of what I do, is to try to help people to find that inner voice and listen to it, because yeah, we are in a society where we're treating symptoms.
And that's, I mean, that speaks to such a broad scope of what our society does, like looking for that like quick fix, like, oh, I want to,
Yeah.
like, there's something wrong with me. I need to fix myself. But like, how do you, how do you kind of take that narrative when someone shows up with that thinking? Because we all kind of do. How do
Yeah.
you kind of like hold space for them and like help them pivot to be like, there's not necessarily something quote unquote wrong that needs to be
Yeah.
fixed. What if we like dig a little deep? Like, how do you, because that work can be really tender. So how do you like show up
Yeah.
for, yeah.
I think that um, the people that come my way, they they're just kind of tired of trying different things to treat symptoms, right? So I just do my best to hold, I'm not the coach or the healer or the guide, but I do my best to help them understand, because I've been in their shoes, that there's nothing wrong with them. Like, they're not flawed because they're having mental health symptoms or they're having physical symptoms and it's not healing. They just don't necessarily have the right tools for them in this time and moment of their life, and that it's no fault of their own because society is not necessarily bringing these tools to them. And so that's what I'm here to do. So yeah, just show people that, like, you're this society is sick, for lack of better words, and so it's no wonder when we ourselves feel sick. And so I think we are in a culture in the Western world of constantly trying to fix things with band-aid solutions instead of getting to the root cause. So I really talk to them about that and about that narrative.
That's, I mean, just to have that feeling of having someone in your corner. I was getting ready today and I was looking around. I was like, oh my God, there's so much I need to do around the house. I just want, like, I just need someone to support me in getting like all
Yeah.
these things done. And when you think of it on a broader scale of mental health, I have a therapist who I love, and I I've only done mushrooms for plant medicine, but I'd love to explore more. But like having
Mm-hmm.
someone to be able to take some of that like burden away. Granted, it's not, no one's gonna like clean my bathroom, but like having that
Yeah.
space, like, it's not another checkbox on your to do list. It's like, okay, I need to research this. I need to go find these people, because that's, I mean,
Yeah.
like that is exhausting. Like even trying to
It
hire an
is.
Uber, word, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when it's something so I keep on coming to the word tender as your mental health, like even doing that work of finding something can be so exhausting, especially if people don't understand
Yeah.
how, if they've never like been in those shoes,
What the
back to those
problem is.
shoes, right? Back to that experience. If they've never been in the state of, if they have depression or if they're just going through a depressed time or there's something more going on, like there's not usually a lot of energy to funnel or to channel into those
Yeah.
kinds of things. So like I just,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want it to be underestimated for like what you do in that kind of beautiful space that you hold in the, I don't want to call it like liminal space, but like kind of like the little, like you're a connector in that way, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's really about
I love
making people feel, yeah. No, yeah, 100%. It's like, really, I've been there. I've been the person like throwing all the money at every single thing, trying to figure out the solution and figure out what's out there and going thing to thing to thing. And so, yeah, a lot of what I do is for sure help them, save time and money, but also just feel seen, that like there are these other options. And, our culture and society it's not conducive to this kind of work for so many reasons. I mean, but yeah, really holding people's hand and being there through their whole journey while they continue these different modalities and come back to me, and we, continue to tailor their journey for them.
I I love that like one size does not fit all
It
approach,
does
like
not.
because
Yeah.
that's how Western cultures like to see things. Like why do you think our culture, just kind of Western culture in general, like how, why are we this way? Where did we go wrong?
Um, I think so. I guess I'll speak to what we were talking about before. Like, why does Western culture like try to fix things with band-aid solutions instead of getting to the root cause? In my opinion, I think there's two answers to that. I think one is instant gratification. You know, we're taught the entire point of life is to make money and buy a house and buy a car and be a success and become an obedient member of society and then die, right? And that's really what we are taught as a society is the point of what we're doing here. So anything that doesn't fit into that mold, like anything that deters you away from that path that society has deemed the answer, um, then people want to fix, right? And so we're not taught that there is even time to get to the root cause. I think that's A. So instant gratification, we're not taught that there is time to get to the root because getting to the root is possible, but it does take time. And the second answer to that, to be like quite honest, is in my opinion, big pharma doesn't profit from us being well. So it's not easy to get to the root cause. It does take time, and it's not profitable for pharma when we don't have these symptoms they need to keep treating. So that's my opinion on what's causing this issue, this epidemic.
I mean, that's it, guys. That's the interview. No, like that.
I'm like,
Right?
that's it.
Oh my god.
I mean, in a nutshell, that's what I've come to learn in my truth,
But
you know?
I mean, that right. It is your truth, and I believe it is the truth because there's so many studies that are out there that really kind of echo the same thing, perhaps in a different way. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
because yeah, big pharma doesn't like keeping us sick is how they make money. I mean, even if you look at our
Yeah.
healthcare system, like
Yeah.
just our
Yeah.
basic healthcare system,
Mm-hmm.
you pay into a
Yeah.
system, and then if you do get sick, you are probably still going to be paying even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we don't have the
Yeah.
time of day.
Conventional medicine is good for keeping people alive. It's good for keeping people alive. But what about when we want to live alive and well and the best that we possibly can? And that's where I think holistic medicine and all of these other modalities come in. But I do, you know, I do want to pay the respect of they keep people alive. You know, you get in a car accident, you are, you know, going, you need a limb fixed. God bless them for doing so. But yeah, it's a bigger issue. It's a much bigger issue. But that's really why I help people to understand like, you're not crazy. We're living in a sick society. And so let's get you the right support.
that's that's a beautiful thing to acknowledge too, because yeah, big pharma is absolutely terrible. But like there is a space for Western medicine, you know, like
Totally.
you're not going to be able
Absolutely.
to yeah heal someone from a car accident with
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
can't with those kind of modalities that you work with,
Yeah.
but like the
100%.
aftercare though, right? It's like if they were in this
Mm-hmm.
traumatic experience, that's where
Yeah.
these things can help instead of being like, all right, here's some drugs to numb
Totally.
you so that you, I don't
Yeah.
know, forget about your traumatic experience so that you heal
Well,
faster, like you touched on, right?
yeah.
Like we're supposed to
Yeah.
produce and then we die, you know, that
Yeah.
so like they can work together.
Yeah.
I want to discuss the modalities that you do because I find them so fascinating and I find them like beautifully like interconnected because I think again with how we look at things in the Western culture, even medicine, that everything's like siloed. It's like, oh, okay, you have something wrong with like your digestive tract
Yes.
or your lungs, or
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to say that those things are connected. It's like, well, it's in my body, so like something like
Yeah.
this whole
Yeah.
thing is a organism,
Yeah.
right? Like
It's all
it is
connected. Mind, body, and soul. Every body part.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would love to, I don't know, maybe start with your favorite modality. I know there's a few, so we might not get to all of them, but I
Hmm.
would love to because I think they are so
Yeah.
the people got to know, you know?
Yeah. So you mean modalities versus like daily practices and rituals, like the modalities that
Yes,
concierge
or
offers
yes.
more
I mean,
so?
I would love to
Okay,
know. I would love to know what you do as
we can do
your
both.
practices, but I want to do modalities first, and maybe we start with plant medicine because
Yeah,
we've kind of been talking about it, and
yeah.
maybe that's kind of what
Um,
people know.
yeah, there's so many modalities we offer at Concierge. They're like bucketed kind of. There's like the plant medicine space, coaching and working with like a guide slash healer slash mentor. There's that modality. Going to retreats, all different kinds of retreats. Obviously, energy work, and there is functional and naturopathic medicine. So really healing the body, and mind, and body are and soul are all connected. That's like in a nutshell. So to start with plant medicine is an incredible modality. Plant medicine and or psychedelic um, medicines. There's a variety of medicines, and it's becoming a really big and emerging space, which is beautiful because it is powerful. It's a powerful tool. One of my favorite things about plant medicine or psychedelic healing is, or optimization, I like to say, is because some people get very stuck in the idea that they're healing. And so we're also optimizing, you know? And one of the things I love about plant medicine and psychedelics is this unearthing of these stories and these beliefs that we have created long ago when we're young and these things happen to us. And what we end up doing is something happens to us when we're young, we're in the experience of life, and what we make it mean is the story we tell ourselves and the beliefs that we develop, and from there we live life from the lens of these stories and these beliefs for so long. And I mean, it's so deeply in the subconscious that the reason sometimes people don't access and really change in traditional therapy and talk therapy is because those stories and beliefs can be so deep. We need something more powerful tool to get into that subconscious sometimes. And so when someone feels called to this work, it's a beautiful way to explore those stories and beliefs. And once we can understand these stories and beliefs are happening, and that's therefore how we live life and how we experience everything, we then understand why we're experiencing what we're experiencing in life, and that it's our creation. That's what I love about it. They also really help. Plant medicine also can really help, and psychedelics can really help you understand the world, like how we can really connect. And there's different medicines that do different things, but I think it brings so much empathy, compassion, understanding on this deep level, like a knowing, not just a conscious. So I think plant medicine makes the unconscious conscious, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful for people to experience that when they have never really been able to get there in other ways. And so for me, it's a strong tool, but to 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 round that out, it's a tool. And what I've seen in that space and why I created Concierge also is for the safety of that tool and those containers. It can very quickly shift if it's in the wrong environment from a medicine to a recreational situation. And so for me, one of my pillars of my business is to make sure people are in environments where they are experienced, the container is safe, and they are really in a place where they can do this work safely. Um, or else it can be recreational. So I always stress that is a big reason why I created it, is to help guide people and help them navigate what are the different medicines and how can they all help, and so which one's for me. And that's just one modality, but people are very curious about it in this moment in time.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I think we should be, especially based on everything you just said. But I love that you bring up optimization because I saw this.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a meme the other day on Instagram, scrolling as we do, and it was all about like you didn't come here to just like heal, like that you didn't come here to
No.
just
Yeah.
genuine like like to do
Yeah.
that and do the work. And I like how you bring it up that we like get stuck in the healing. It's like, so all
Yeah.
right, yeah, maybe you are, sure, but if you can reframe it to optimizing, I absolutely love that.
People get
Like,
really stuck. I was stuck for years in the like I'm healing, and beautiful. We are healing and growing and optimizing and learning, but people do get stuck in that phase of the journey, and it's so important that we see it as exactly that, that it's an evolution. We're always growing. And if we label ourselves as healed, it means that we were either sick or unhealed. And so I think that word, I use it lightly because I love the word optimization. We're trying to optimize our life. And sometimes in that process, we have to heal things.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I absolutely love that. Like that's a mental shift for me. But I also like that you bring up like these medicines
Yeah,
that we play with, they can turn into like a quick fix, like a drug. Like if you're not careful,
absolutely.
like if you're not careful with
Absolutely.
how you use them, they can also become that kind of escapist tool.
No, there's not a lot of people talking about it, but I have been because I think we as a society look for the quick fix. And so, like we said before, and when we look for the quick fix, we can get stuck that these modalities are the answer. There is no one answer. The answer is we're on a journey and it never ends until it ends, right? In this life. And so I think that it's so important for me to bring awareness to this part that all the modalities can be helpful, but there isn't a solution that's just like a quick fix. It's a journey and it takes work. And it's important to reframe that because I was lost in that too. I was like, oh my God, ayahuasca is going to save my life. Like, oh my God, like I'm going to, at the time, even when I was like taking pharmaceuticals, like, okay, I'll feel so much better once I do this. And like, yeah, it's the I'll be happy when complex. Like, I'll be calm when, like, I will be enough when. And it just doesn't work that way. It's a journey.
No.
It takes
Yeah.
work. Yeah. But it can
Yeah.
be fun. It can be
Exactly.
fun.
I mean, I like that you bring up that it takes work, but it can be fun because I feel like we put
Mm-hmm.
work into this box of like work isn't fun. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
again, like back to Western culture, right? Like you work and then you die. You're not supposed, the work isn't supposed to be fun. No aspect of
God,
work is
yeah.
fun. But like,
Yeah. Just like sit down at the desk and
right? And then you
like,
go home and you
okay.
don't know what to eat. So you order like DoorDash, like what, right? Like you get
Yeah.
so, yeah, no, no time for
Yeah.
that. But like the work,
Yeah.
the work can be enjoyable.
It
Like
can be. Yeah.
just that kind of reframe. And
Hmm.
it's all I'm okay. I'm hearing like Miley Cyrus's "Climb" in my head right now. It's about the journey. It's about the climb. Like, oh my god,
It
I
is.
know without telling. But like, it's just
This one of my mentors said to me, and this like rocked my world because I was, pre my own journey with all this, like really obsessed with this idea, like when I solve this problem, everything will be okay. Or like when the fire drills. And he said to me, like, as soon as you understand that life is about just dealing and being in the fire drills and just flowing with it, the sooner you understand that life doesn't start when the fire drill ends, when we check the box of the task that we need to check, the sooner, and you can really accept like that, you can really accept that this is what life is, then you will find so much liberation in your day to day, because I was really suffering. And when he explained it to me like that, like, fire drills don't end. It's just the way you react to them and the way you show up to them is how you find liberation from the suffering that you're creating. And so I was like,
like, I, that's amazing.
yeah,
That's absolutely amazing because
yeah,
that you can hear things. You can hear the same thing 1,000 times or maybe a few different ways, but when you hear it the one way that resonates, you're just
mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm.
why didn't I like I've understood this
Yeah,
conceptually, but now I
mm-hmm.
understand it like j- like in your DNA. I understand it cellularly now, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
The,
yeah. That's what a lot of these
the
modalities do also, is like to talk about it consciously sometimes only goes so far. We need to really feel like I mean, the whole point of how we can really heal and optimize is to get into the body, right? And start listening to the body and start feeling things. And so a lot of these modalities get you into the body. The mind is just a tool. It's a tool for your soul to use. You're a soul in a body having a human experience with a mind as a tool, you know? So it's so deep, but it's so true. And so the body has all the answers. The heart has the truth, and the body has the answers.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I hope and I feel that more people are, I don't really want to say awakening because I feel like that's an overused term. Like, we were talking, I was like, sustainability is driving me crazy. Like, that word is driving me
I
crazy.
know.
Um,
Consciousness. I know.
yes. It's just like the people, it's like marketing, right? Someone got a hold of
Yeah.
the term. They're like, oh, everybody's talking about this, so I'm going to use it
Yeah.
too. And you're like,
It's like
what?
mindfulness. Mindfulness was like that. It was like everyone just started talking about mindfulness, and now I'm like, I can't even hear the word. I'm like, okay,
No,
mindfulness. But like,
no. You're
yeah,
like, I understand what you mean and I see it. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can't. But I really do hope and feel, I feel it. I feel it that people are shifting their
Oh yeah,
perspective, that they're really starting to
absolutely,
believe and know that
absolutely,
they are a soul and a body. And it's not the other way around, you know, but that like you also,
absolutely. It's
so
happening.
yeah, I know. I'm like, oh dear God. It's like, but in
Yeah,
that same breath, it's like you need your body too. And like
yeah,
how you say and how you work is like taking the cues, right, from those individuals'
yeah,
bodies and like their pings and what they're going through and then build the kind of framework for them. Like, because obviously, you know, you're not going to be
yeah,
using plant medicine all the time to heal and optimize, right? Like you're not going to need it all the time.
yeah.
Which is like,
No,
but maybe you'll
no,
need
absolutely
like
not.
a good meditation or yeah, like coaching, like you said, like how you can build those things in and
Yeah,
create a unique kind of pathway for people to walk in their own living
yeah,
dumpster fire. Like
yeah. It's
that,
so true, and
that
it's
sounds
really
terrible, but
about
like
understanding how to listen to the symptoms, because the symptoms are messengers. They are powerful messengers, sacred communicators. When we quiet the noise of that, of our messengers, it's hard for us to get into the body. And I believe that our blueprint and our true path lies within in our heart and in our body. And so we can't necessarily, it's hard for us to access it if we're constantly quieting the messengers. So, you know, I have really learned to listen and let them be present and let them give me like what they're looking to give me. But when you don't see it as that, it's really hard. You just want it to go away. You want to feel better, but they will continue. The messengers will get louder and louder, and the whispers will become screams if you don't listen. That's one of my favorite things to talk about is the body will find a way to signal you that there's either a toxin in the body, you're in the wrong environment, situation, first place and thing, job, there's an imbalance, there's something going on within, or there's trauma that needs to be addressed and healed, that wants to be addressed and healed. And so, yeah, powerful messengers.
I love that you say the whispers will become screams, right? And that's one of the things that we medicate
Yeah,
away until it's so loud that there's nothing that you can do
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I think you kind of alluded to it in the beginning, like the corporate burnout, that your body was just like, full stop. I can't do this anymore. I mean, that happened to me. I was working I was working for a digital
yeah,
marketing company, you know, as we do. And it was in 2020 and I was in San Francisco and I was getting like migraines almost every single day. I was just like, okay, I am extremely unwell. Like this needs to be addressed now? Like,
Yeah.
was there a moment for you where your body was like just full stop?
Yeah. A very big moment when I was in a relationship in New York City. And like I said, this person was dealing with addiction pretty seriously. And it was something I was trying to power through. I was just trying to really fit myself into this like place where I could just deal with what I was going through, and my body would give me signals. I was having panic attacks and, passing out randomly, and there was signals, but I refused to connect the dots, and so I wouldn't listen. And it got louder and louder, and I started having multiple panic attacks a day, and I had never had that before. And so that was a lot of my story, was taking Xanax and taking medication to calm the fuck down. But in the end, realizing my body was screaming for me to listen. You're not aligned, and quite frankly, you're in danger. And so in that version of myself. And so when I really set out on that journey, I just committed all in. I was like, okay, what is this trying to tell me? And that was a full stop, like a full stop. I need to see what's going on. And thank God it was COVID, because I was working remote. I was able to really take a look at it and really spend the time. Um, and so I learned how to, that was the most severe example. And I learned from that process how to listen. When I was ready to leave my career, there was starting to be a little bit of symptoms like that. Nothing like to that extent where that was really like profound. But I learned to listen to the whispers. And so I didn't have to go through another round at that point in time in my life. You never know what happens, but I learned to listen, and I started listening to the body on how to redirect me to my true path, because we all have our own blueprint of what we're here to do, what we're supposed to do. And so nobody can tell us what the path is, only within, and we have to learn to listen. And there's so much wisdom in our bodies. And I mean, I can definitely get into that, but that is definitely a big problem in Western culture, is we're detached from our bodies.
Yeah, I I would love for you to go into that a little bit more, because I think, I mean, even for me, I got really sick like at the end of September or whatever, and then I got it again in spring, and I was like, okay, you did this before. This has happened to you before. What did you learn last
Mm-hmm.
time? These are the signals from your body. You were sick for so long, and you tried to power through, and then you got like a sinus infection, which then you couldn't do anything. It was like, so let's take a step back. All right, body, like breathe into what do you need? Like truly
Yeah.
listening to understand rather than listening to like solve the problem. Because I mean, you brought up, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I realized that I was getting these same kind of pings, not to the extent, but I was listening and I was seeking to understand rather than seeking to solve. Yeah, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
I would love to
At
hear.
first, I was definitely seeking to solve, but then I had enough people around me that were guiding me the right direction, thankfully. But our bodies have so much wisdom. The power that women have when they listen to their bodies, their intuition, their creativity, a lot of this feminine energy, like we're literally portals to another realm. And whether we choose or choose not to have babies, but I mean, that is like just a fact of life. When we can tune into the body, there is profound wisdom, men and women, but we're not taught that. And if we really lived in a world where we were connected to our body, we would be living in an entirely different world. Why? Because we would all be connected to our true essence and our true blueprint, I like to call it, like our life path. We wouldn't be following like what we think we're supposed to, because we would have that intuitive connection where this is my path. Like this conscious concierge in this moment in my life, it's my path because I learned to listen. Before I was on a different path and it was beautiful, but it was ready. I was ready to shift into a different path. What I believe is more my purpose in this moment. We're always changing, but it would be a different world if we listened to the body, and we would be living in a beautiful world.
We so would. I love that you bring up the the feminine. I mean, yes, of course it lives in the masculine too, but I
Totally.
mean,
Totally.
but as you know, if you are more embodied in the feminine, especially if you have like a womb, you are that portal. Like that's
Yeah,
right, like you
literally.
said, like even if you do not choose to bring children into this world through
Yeah.
said portal, like you
Yeah.
still,
Still a
all of that
portal.
power is still available to you.
Totally.
Like
Totally.
it it just it blows my mind. It blows my mind how, I mean, I guess it comes back to the whole thing of like, if you're not, you know, sick and tired and run down, and if you really understood your power in your body and things like that, like just imagine how
Yeah.
powerful we could
Yeah.
be, you know, like, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the
Yeah.
powers that be are, they're scared of that, you know. I mean, what do they
Oh,
think?
yeah.
They
Yeah.
they like the puppet master thing. That's
That,
fun for
yeah.
them.
It's fun. It keeps things in check. But
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, we're living on a slave planet. We're like taught that we're just supposed to do these things to achieve something and become, this is the lay of the land. And it's, if we lived in a world where we truly were here to like live our fullest expression of ourselves, this would be an entirely different world. And that's one of the missions for me, is to bring people into the fullest expression of themselves by way of these modalities, by way of them finding their true path. And yeah, we can go to school and study to be like the doctor, the lawyer, but it's just so much more complex than that. And it's so deep. I mean, it's just, it's, we're not taught what life is really about. And so I think that's going to change. I think there's an awakening happening. I feel it. I hate the word too, I know, but I do feel it. And I'm proud to be a part of that movement of a new wave of humanity.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing too, and I love that you also acknowledge the journey that got you here, because oftentimes, especially if you are just waking up, or just kind of coming to this realization that there's more out there, and this definition of success or what you thought was success isn't your definition of success, but honoring the stuff that got you to where you are, because then you wouldn't have
I
gotten to
so
where you
honor it. Yeah.
are, right? Like
I
so
so
many
honor it.
people will just be like, but I, you know, but I wanted to be here soon. Well, you couldn't have. Like you didn't
Yeah.
have, it's kind of like the power path, right? Like you didn't have the building blocks to get there. So even if you were
Yeah.
there, you wouldn't have known what to do with it. And then you'd kind of be back at square
Yeah.
one.
True freedom for me has true freedom for me lies in the understanding that everything that has happened like for me, not to me. And it's one thing to say that, but to really understand it, there's nothing that I regret. There's not one thing I look back and wish would have been different. I feel blessed for every trauma, tragedy, hardship. I even the people that did me wrong, or or caused me pain, I am so thankful for those people. I think that's where really people get liberated in this work, is what I see, is when they're like, I understand. I understand that concept. It's hard, but it's really liberating.
That got
Yeah.
me in the heart chakra. I'm starting to tear up. I'm like, whoa, okay.
It's like so important. I mean, I my ex that actually was the catalyst for this, like, we're friendly, and I tell him to this day, like, thank God, because I'm on a whole other path of life for what we went through and what you went through. And I'm so grateful for that time. And I think he looks at me kind of like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm so grateful, because takes so much, I think, to really feel that way. And so that's a lot of, I think a lot of these modalities help people really find that peace, find that clarity.
Yeah, like that you
Yeah.
brought up, you know, life is happening for you, not to
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
like it's not all pretty.
No, and if people can see, I always say, like, if we can look at what's happening and try to understand the lesson, like when things are so, so hard. I mean, it's hard to see it when you're in it, but as soon as we can reframe to think of like, what is this trying to teach me? That is always what I say when things are really, really hard. What is this trying to teach me? Without that question, it's really tough because you're just kind of like, my life sucks and everything is horrible. But what is this trying to teach me? And you always find it later. And wisdom is invaluable. I mean, I look back at the 30-year-old version of me. I'm 30, 33, turning 34 next week. And like the last 4 years of like pure wisdom from going through so much is invaluable. It's
I mean,
invaluable.
happy Gemini birthday. I love Gemini so
Thank
much.
you. What are you?
I'm an Aquarius, so fellow air
Oh
sign.
my God. We're besties then. I love Aquarius.
I love Gemini. I love them so much. I've actually had so many Geminis, sidebar, on the
We're
podcast recently. I'm
wild.
like,
Ah,
I just love. I naturally, I think Gemini and Aquarius, like thick as thieves
yeah,
forever.
we
Like they're
air
just
signs.
yeah.
Yeah,
You want to get
I find
something
them
done.
so interesting.
I know
Hmm.
it's air signs are a
Yeah, the
trip.
mind
Oh man,
trip.
yeah, you get stuck up there. But I love
Yeah,
that's
I
why
really
these
do,
days
but
are so important, right? Like
yeah,
reframe
all about
how.
getting in the body.
Yes, like instead of staying up there, like using the mind as a tool, like you said, it's a tool. It's not, like I
The
think
tool.
therefore I am thing. That who said that? He must have been an air sign with zero clarity on like how, like I just think. It's like, no, you're not a thinking machine. That's not
Yeah.
that's not
The
what
think the think that for I am is because people think they are their thoughts. So they don't understand the disconnection. And that's why I love meditation so much. Meditation is another modality. Meditation helps you become an observer of the mind. So you really start to, when you sit in meditation, just on a basic level, you start to really understand that you and the mind are not one and the same. So we don't have to believe the thoughts and we don't have to become them. So I think therefore I am I think it's because a lot of people, they think, and so they think that they are the thoughts. And meditation is beautiful for that. Beautiful to observe and
yes.
separate yourself. Yeah.
That's such a good take on that. I was in yoga yesterday, and my instructor, whom we're definitely connected on a level far outside of just yoga class, but like she said, and I don't know why it did. It's just like when things hit, they hit. She said we can choose our
When things
thoughts
hit the
like
hill.
we choose our clothing. And I was like, oh my God. Like, why did like choosing your thoughts has been a thing? That's like, yes, you can choose your thoughts. You can choose better thoughts. You can retrain your brain. You can, make different neural pathways and stuff like that. But until she said it like that, because I have such a focus on like clothing and intentional clothing and what you wear and how you express it. Like, since that's most of my life's work, framing those two together, mind blown. I
Yeah.
have had a
Yeah.
literal shift within me in the past 24 hours just because of that little, just like one, two
Yeah.
sentences.
And it's a practice for a reason, to really practice the art of not taking on the thoughts and even choosing the thoughts, because people are like, well, I can't just choose differently. I do understand that. I remember feeling that way too. When the thought comes into your mind and you practice the art of meditation, it takes work sometimes. It takes a little bit of time to really understand that, yes, the intrusive thought might come, like I'm worthless or I'm damaged or I can't do that. It will come, you know, forcefully, but we're able to then observe it and then choose differently. And that's a practice. I think there's a misconception that like when people say like choose different thoughts or think different things. I remember my mom would always be like, think positive, and I was like, ugh. But it's like it's not explained that it's a practice to get there, and it's going to take time. And I even have meditation coaches and meditation retreats that, like, if someone's really interested in that modality, like there's a million different ways we can tackle you learning that if you so choose. Um, and so, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I, I,
yeah,
I absolutely agree. That's totally, I mean, that's the missing piece. It's totally left out of the conversation of like, yeah, you can choose
yeah,
these things, but again, it's a practice in it, and it takes time, especially if you know, have more, I don't want to say debilitating, but tricky
yeah.
cognitive issues, right?
I
Like,
did. Yeah, I did. I mean, they told me I had OCD, anxiety, like intrusive thoughts. I mean, everything that I was supposed to be medicated for, I
right.
was, I mean, incessant loops where they were like really concerned. And there is practice. Some people have it more than others, and you're not hopeless because of that. I thought that I was too.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I do, again, back to Western medicine being helpful. I do think that some
Yeah.
SSRIs are helpful for individuals, but for me personally, I've been, I was diagnosed as clinically depressed as a child. So like, whatever that
Hmm.
means. But I do
Yeah.
know that, I
Hmm.
swing a little bit that way. And
Me too.
so
Yeah.
it's a understanding that about yourself, right? And then kind of
Yeah.
learning those triggers or those pings from your body. It's like, oh fuck, I'm circling the drain. Like, let's let's
Yeah.
not, let's not do this. Let's try to find a way to support ourselves out of it. But that's what I come back to, or I used to. I'm getting so much better about, when those intrusive thoughts come in and they're just bullies, right? They're just so mean to you, and you're like,
Yeah.
listen, I see you. I know that you're there. I know that you're hurting. And it's about like the internal narrative too, because I was like, no, I don't like these thoughts. And I push them away. It's like, well, you can't, that's also like, you're using the
Yeah.
same like aggressive kind of behavior that the thoughts have as you pushing them away. I was like, and then you're in this tug of war thing. It doesn't work. It's like,
Yeah.
so then you just kind of
It's
like learn to love, those parts of you. I mean, I guess it's kind of going into
yeah.
that shadow work aspect of stuff, but
I was gonna say it's also so important to get to the root cause. So like we can obviously work on those things about ourselves and invite in and welcome and love those parts of ourselves. But like there's a root to that. There's a root. And you know, being diagnosed as depressed as a child too, there's so much there, right? There, I mean, generationally we get gifted down a lot of things. You know, I had both sides in, in war and really really crazy stories, and so we of course can get sent down those things. But also when someone skews towards like depression and they are told like they have an imbalance, or they're told like they just skew that way, there's also the whole route of functional medicine and naturopathic medicine. The reason I offer it as a modality is because um, if you are chemically imbalanced, it's usually figure outable. It can be figure outable in the sense that if you, what they do is take a full look at your body. I mean, on every level. What they don't do it in conventional medicine. They really check like your vitals and things. But when you go to the practitioners we work with, they're looking at your gut, which is connected to your brain, which a lot of people have gut infections when they have depression, your hormones, heavy metals, toxins in the body, um, and you are looking at your vitamins and minerals. If you have low B12 magnesium, you could register as a depressed person. So there's so much people can do. This is like a huge modality right now that like as soon as someone tells me like they're clinically depressed on SSRIs and they want to get off or they're curious, checking into the body with these practitioners is an incredible tool. Because I mean, when they took a look at my body, I was on birth control for 20 years, which depletes the vitamins and minerals necessary for mental health and creates gut dysbiosis, which when your gut and your brain are connected and you have gut issues, you can't have good mental health. So it can be sometimes that, and that can be generationally given down as well as the trauma. So there's so much. If we have time and someone's willing, we can dig in and find the root of all of it. And those intrusive thoughts and things like that will get better by way of healing the imbalances in the root and the trauma. And so there's also that, which, I try to talk about as much as possible, because it's like, if we don't want to be medicated, there's options, but do we have the time and are we willing to go the distance to uncover it? I think it leads to more liberation in the end, but it's everyone's journey. So
Yeah, I I love that you bring it back to the journey. Like my therapist, God love her, she's like, you don't, when I get kind of circle the drainy or be like, oh, I have this relationship with my parents and I don't understand, blah 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 blah. She's like, you don't know what other people came here to sign. Like, you don't know other people's contracts. You don't know what other people came here to do and to sign up for. Like, you can't even guess like what their journey is.
yeah,
Like,
we don't
you
know.
don't know. It might not, what you know and what is for you and what you've learned that works as a more holistic way, XYZ thing. She's like, that might never be their path. They might never get there, and you can't take that on yourself.
So true. It's actually
I'm like,
so true. Like some people aren't meant to wake up in this life. Like some people aren't meant to do the deep generational trauma. I have a best friend now that I grew up. She's since we're 5 years old. I mean, um, or no, I guess we were a little bit older, but we've been friends since we're kids. And she has always just enjoyed life and like been, she married her high school sweetheart and she has these two beautiful kids and like life has been good. Like really minor things, not interested in the deep work. And she's always saying to me, like, we are on different missions in this lifetime. Like, she's just here to chill. She's just here to chill. And honestly, if we can get to a place of really understanding that we're all on a different path, I used to be like, why is my life harder? Why do I have all these challenges? Like, why was my family so crazy? Like, all of these things. And it's like, if we can see we're all here for something else, there's no comparison. Comparison's like the thief of joy. Now I'm like, what a story I have, and God bless, because it is going to be one for the books in this lifetime.
yeah, that's, I mean, like, yes, so much yes. That's just, you just gotta
You're
like, yeah, like, oh my gosh, I was like free. I was in this class the other day and we were like free journaling, and it was kind of coming up of like, the fuck. I'm like, why can't this be easier? And then, like, the response,
yeah,
essentially the universe, whatever, was like, because you didn't choose that. That wasn't, you didn't want it that way. It's like you have a David Bowie poster that's like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know it's not going to be boring. It's like your soul knows on an intrinsic
yeah,
level that like this
yeah,
was your choice. You didn't want this like quote unquote simple life. You didn't come here to chill. You know that. Why? I mean, I know why, through conditioning and all of the epigenetic stuff that you were just talking
yeah,
about, the things that have been passed down to me. I was like, why am
yeah,
I fighting it? I was just like, oh, damn.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I know. It's life is such a wild little ride. It really is something wild.
It really is. But I love that you say, you're like, instead of being like, fuck, why is my life so hard? It's like, what a story I'm telling.
Yeah,
What a novel that I'm writing with this journey that I'm
it's
on.
wild.
This wild,
Yeah,
wild ride that people would be like,
yeah,
why? Why would you
yeah.
do that?
My whole family has a wild story. My mom, my dad, like we are really a part of like some crazy stuff, and I feel honored to be really a part of these like crazy journeys together and separately. And yeah, it took so long to get there to see that because I was always like, why can she just chill? Why is she just chilling? But sometimes we have a bigger mission here, or not bigger because there's no bigger versus smaller, but like, it's, yeah, I think it's really honoring people and letting them be in their mission, whatever that is, really.
And that,
Yeah,
and that is a learning curve in and of itself, because you want to take people you love
yeah,
with you, but they might
yeah,
not be ready ever.
yeah, yeah,
And that
yeah,
that that sucks, but it's great. Like, yeah,
yeah,
it sucks, but it's great. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
that's what it is.
It's true. When we change, people around us change, the relationships change anyway. It's all a byproduct. And so, yeah, stay in our lane and do the work.
Right? Like, just stay in our lane. It I mean, that's some of the best advice, the best and simplest advice that people can give, right? It's like you just have to keep your side of the street clean, and that's all you can
Yeah,
really do.
stay in your lane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
you can do.
I think people also get a little enlightened and heal a little, and they want to like, bring it to everybody, like really make everyone else feel like they have to understand. And that was a challenging part of the journey too. I went through that of like, everyone has to wake up and hear what's going on in the world. And it's just, it doesn't, it repels people. It's like, I don't overly promote the business. People find me, if they are meant to and do this type of, you know, I hate to call it work. If they're meant to just dive in the inner realms, then they find me.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot too.
Yeah.
Oh man, this has been so. I could talk to you forever. Like this is just so. I mean, of course, in a Gemini and Aquarius, we could talk forever.
Yeah,
But like,
I'll be.
but a couple of things before I let you go. One, it's kind of twofold. Like, do you have daily practices or rituals that you do
Yeah.
that, I mean, I guess it's all in one, that kind of like help you come back to center or kind of start off your day right? Or like, what do you do to really
Yeah.
tap into your essence, right? Because sometimes that gets all
Hmm.
convoluted with all the mess of this world.
Totally. I'm very protective of that too. That was also a big reason I left corporate. I didn't feel there was a space for me to like take care of myself in the way that I would have liked to. And so I've done all of the modalities, obviously, that I talk about, but in terms of my daily like practices and rituals, um, meditation has always been a big staple for me when I started getting to this work. I really love it because I separate my emotions like from myself and become the observer. So it just really, really helps me to do that. And I give myself grace on what that looks like, whether I want to listen to some really beautiful music or I want to listen to a guided meditation. I allow my body to tell me like what topic or what we're feeling in terms of like how we want to meditate for that day. I really give myself that grace. I train in the gym. So again, I used to be like super rigid with the gym and I have to go do this way and train this way. And I still train because I love it and it's a part of my practices, but I have given myself a little bit of grace also on that and have changed my schedule around. And, but I definitely always incorporate that in my day to day. And I think that a big part of for me is the way I eat and the things I put in my body. So I'm very, very into functional medicine and holistic health. And so I have a really good idea of like what I need to eat for my own self because I have had everything tested and looked at on a granular level. And so, yeah, like really taking care of myself with food and supplementation to my specific needs. I think that like for all of these morning rituals and things that I do, I really listen to the body and give myself the grace of how would I like to meditate in this day and even training. Like I have a structure, but I also let myself just I listen to the body of what it needs, um, and give myself the ability to change when something's not working. And I think that a big part of the rituals and the practices that has given me like such a shift is I used to think of them as like chores that I would have to do to get done. I used to think of them as like if I don't meditate for 10 minutes and I don't train for an hour and a half and lift heavy weights, um, and I don't eat something healthy, then I am failing. And I've really reshaped it to look at it more as like a devotion. It's like a gift to myself to do these things, not a chore. And so that has helped me like tremendously when I go to sit down and meditate or I get to the gym or when I'm preparing my foods because I eat mostly in the home. I'm like, this is a gift. And that shift was like powerful because you really start to feel like if you slip into the wrong mindset of not wrong or right, but if you slip into a certain mindset, you feel like you're like checking a box and it's like listen to the body, feel into the meditation, the practices. And I help people with that as well. If they need help with like Maybe their meditation is journaling. Maybe they would prefer to do breath work. Um, Maybe they would prefer to do a different type of cardio. It's like first of all, really taking a look at your body with the holistic health to understand your body, and then aligning to its needs.
Yes, that unsurprisingly sounds like my Gemini bestie, kind of how she's shifted from this rigid like structure of working out and like eating these things more as punishment rather than it being this beautiful privilege and like this ritual to connect to yourself instead of that like checkbox system. That's wild. I was like, oh no, this sounds very, very Gemini in that way. But that mental shift is so, I love that mental shift. Like making it
Yeah,
making it more of like the devotion, like you said, like, and even
yeah,
like back to that like feminine energy, being like treating yourself like a goddess because we all are, right? So like you are the
yeah,
altar. So like bringing those things to the altar, not because you hate yourself, but because you love yourself. Like I could never do.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, why can't I do hit classes and all these things? It's like because your body doesn't like that. Your body doesn't respond to that. You
yeah.
keep on like
Hit
you get physically sick every
hit
time.
is
Like every time
actually,
you're crying.
yeah. Hit can actually like be really damaging on the cortisol, but anyway, combo for another day.
Like
Yeah,
this one isn't for me. My body's like,
yeah,
girl, stick to your walks and
yeah,
your yoga. That's what you like in your little cardio. Like that's
yeah.
whatever.
And like for now, there's such a the delicate art of like discipline and pushing ourselves where we're not like aligned anymore. It's hard to discern that, and I still get in my zones with it where yeah, it's like I have the discipline. I've already instilled that and created that. It's more about listening to when it's time to shift modalities. I understand that more
Yes.
now.
Yes, it's
Hmm.
the discipline and the devotion, or like however people want to words are
Yeah,
powerful. So like whatever those mean to you, like
yeah,
using those to shape that tuning in to yourself. Because yeah, I mean, even as women, think of it on that like molecular level. We are changing every day, especially women with our cycles, right? Every day we're different. We're a different person every single day. Why would our body need the same thing day to day? Obviously.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
totally.
100%.
Well, before I let you go, Lana, is there anything that is coming up that you are most excited for on your
Mm,
future, or a project you want to talk about, or even a retreat that's coming up if people are interested in? I mean, I'll definitely link everything in
mm.
the show notes so they can get a hold of you, but anything you want to let people know before we say goodbye?
Well, there are so many retreats coming up. It really depends on what people are looking for. So obviously always to connect. I do a YouTube series called Conscious Conversations where I really have these conversations like with the experts in the modalities and with people who have like really crazy stories about not listening to the symptoms. And so there's that. There's always that to tune into. And I will be I'm working on a lot of different partnerships and events and fun things like that. The next one where I'll be speaking at is June 6th, but it's in Medellin, Colombia. So if anyone's listening from Colombia, we'll be there talking about conscious entrepreneurship and how to develop a heart-centered business. It's going to be really cool. So I'm sure there'll be some sound bites from there. But yeah, just always stay connected, follow at your Conscious Concierge, and so many exciting things coming up. And we'll find what's a fit for you and just have a conversation.
I love that. We didn't even get to your time in Colombia. Maybe you'll have to come back and we'll
Oh,
share.
that was where I did most of the work. When I talk about the 3 years that I went through the modalities, most of it was Colombia. So it's a very special place for me.
Yeah, we'll just have to hold space for all that because like that, I think a lot of
Yeah,
individuals go somewhere to kind of that's what San Francisco was for me. That little like cocoon
yeah,
of like you're here to just
yeah,
you're not here to
cocoon.
meet anybody really. You're just here to stay in your cocoon and like figure it out. But Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so
Thank
much. This has
you.
been this
Thank
has been so
you.
lovely.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
And